Hi, welcome to the third episode of The Outer Wing. I'm Mark Stevens and I'm at Zero Hanger HQ. This is brought to you by TABtouch. Real punters play here. I'll be joined again by Digby Beacham, the legendary journo from over there in the West. Let's bring it on.
Could a mullet with tightly tapered sides reduce wind resistance, allowing for faster acceleration off the mark? Now that's something to think about. What are you really gambling with?
Well, Diggers, great to have you back on board. You're a happy North Melbourne supporter over there, but a lot of focus on the important clubs, if you like, in Perth, other than the Kangaroos. What did you make of the Dockers?
Well, they were good, Steve-o. I thought, if you're to be brutally honest, their first 35 minutes was electric. And just before half-time, they led by a big margin against a quality opponent down there in Geelong, that being the Cats. So all in all, I thought they were really, really good. Did they leave with the 4 points? No, they did not. Fatigue, just some mental errors, perhaps a lack of discipline. But all in all, I think they'll be better for the run. I think you need to be glass half full as opposed to glass half empty if you're a Fremantle fan, as much as that's hard to probably digest.
I'll probably take the other view, I think, Diggers. This was a very Freo performance. And when you get in front like that down at the Cattery, you've just got to put it away. If you think you're going to win a flag, you need to deliver from that position. So, again, Freo tendencies came in, not enough players stepped up. But I was also interested in the coach, Justin Longmuir, after the game. I'm not sure it was the right time to bring up an excuse about the fixture.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. There's contrasting opinions here. I'll take the pro Fremantle approach and probably the pro West Coast WA approach, because I think what Justin did he answered a question honestly, and Justin's a very honest man. So I think in that respect, he wasn't going there and he wasn't bleating, but it was born out of frustration, because it is an undeniable advantage. If you play opening round and then you get an opportunity against a side the next week who's been idle. I think there's been 14, 15 games since opening round has been introduced, and 10 or 11 of those sides who have played against sides who haven't have been victorious. So you're looking at 65, 66%. So it's a pretty significant strike rate in that respect. One thing that the two WA clubs over here feel, and they've expressed their dismay, they've spoken about it publicly, they've spoken about it privately, is the fact that those at AFL House don't have a full appreciation of the challenges that you do have to face over here, and that is travel and the like. It's a national competition. They know what they signed up for, but that still rankles them a little bit. The fact that there's a few officials at AFL House in the fixturing department, senior footballer people who listen, and then they think when they walk away from their meetings go, nothing to see here. So I don't think it was an excuse. I don't think it was a whinge from Justin. He answered a question. They certainly didn't make mention of it in the lead up to the Geelong game. So we'll just see. But look, they'll park that. They need to be better. They need to play 4 quarters. They know that.
They do, and I agree, Diggers, that the AFL, all the masterminds in there at headquarters down at Docklands should be able to have matchups against teams that didn't have an advantage, if you like. So like for like going into that second round of footy or round one. But his argument was defeated, of course, because Melbourne and Adelaide both went on to win games, Diggers. So Crimea River, I'm not sure it's such a big issue. So the timing wasn't ideal, Diggers. I'm not with you on that one, but I spoke before about leadership at the Dockers. Like, who stepped up in the last quarter when it was required? Is that an issue? I mean, we saw them get rolled in a big final at home last year. Who has to step up if Freo are going to go all the way?
Their leaders do, Steve-o, and collectively they did not, and that's why they exited Geelong with nothing to show for their performance. Like that initial 35 minutes, as I said, it was as intoxicating a brand of football as you'll witness. There was high efficiency going inside 50. They did a lot right. They won the football at the source. They were very, very good. But when the game shifted, Geelong made some tweaks. They didn't react in the manner that you'd like. So, look, is it fatigue? Is it a bit of ring rust? You know, they're first up in effectively 6 months. And we talk about horses and the like. Well, they've had a couple of trials, but they went there. They performed okay. They didn't win. Look for them second up. That's against Melbourne this week.
And Jai missed. He's had a lot of trials, a lot of jump outs. He looks promising, to use the racing analogies, Diggers, but he really has to start delivering. 4 touches on the weekend. Doesn't get enough of the footy for mine, but he tends to have a goal pass.
Yeah, it's a really good one. Look, he's a top tenner. I think he was pick 8. He's played 70-odd games. He's still only 22 years of age, so he's a young man. He kicked 32 goals last year, Steve-O, but 8 times. 8 times he went goalless. And a handful of other occasions he kicked just the solitary major. It's a question of where he's getting his footy. Is he being impacted by the presence of both Voss and Tracy? You know, are they demanding the football a little bit more? And is he capable of catching and killing his own? So is he that hit-up target? Is he out the back a little bit? So he's probably in a state of flux at the moment, Jai. They're persisting with him, but he needs to produce. He knows that. Fremantle knows that. As you said, 4 touches, 1 goal. That's not enough.
And Melbourne, they're going to be a difficult proposition. They're up and running. New coach Stephen King, free-flowing footy. They had a lot of weapons everywhere, really, against St Kilda, and a pretty dynamic forward line now when you look at it. So they're going to have to be on their game, the Dockers, this week.
That they are. Yeah, no question. Saturday afternoon, Optus Stadium, fast track. That looks like it's going to suit Melbourne the way that they want to play under Stephen King. And these are the sort of opponents who have troubled Fremantle a little bit in years gone by. These sides who are like, okay, foot on the gas, let's see what you've got. Knowing if they catch fire for 30, 40 minutes, they're capable of kicking 7, 8, 9 goals. And then Fremantle need to be able to match that. But I suspect Fremantle are going to be a force at home. I really, really believe that. And I think they'll take care of the Demons.
Are you prepared to say, Diggers, that they'll win every game at home? Looking at it, if they want to win the flag, they need to finish top 4. They're going to have to bank just about everything over there.
They are. They've got 13 games in Western Australia. So 2 of those are against West Coast. And they've got that game down at Hands Oval in Bunbury, southwest of Perth, against
Which is
North
a gift.
Melbourne.
That's a gift, by the way, by North Melbourne selling a game to Freo. Again, inequity in the fixture, Diggers. So I'm not sure Freo can complain too much. You've got 13 games in Perth.
They have got 13 games, but they had to lobby very difficult to get 13 games in Perth, and they travel along with West Coast more than any other side in the competition. So I'll put that to one side. Steve, you and I will agree to disagree on that, but I think they can win. Of those 13, they should be looking to win 12. Now, they do get your Bulldogs here. They do get Gold Coast here. They get Sydney here, but that'll be with no Goulden. They also get Hawthorn here. I think 11's a pass mark. I think they can honestly win 12 games in Western Australia this year.
Have you got a bet for us this week regarding the Dockers on behalf of TABtouch? Real punters play here.
Yeah, absolutely. With TABtouch, I've got Fremantle to win and also Shea Bolton and Josh Tracy to kick 2+ goals, $3.15 with TABtouch.
I like it, Diggers. What about the West Coast Eagles? Totally different scenario. I can't see them winning too many games, even at home. What was your take out of the game up on the Gold Coast? Do you take it as a positive the second half? I take it as a negative the first half. I think Gold Coast put the cue in the rack.
I'm with you on this one, Steve. I'll agree with you. I think it has to be the first half when you're assessing that game and you're reviewing it, because Gold Coast kicked 13 goals in that initial 60, 65 minutes to lead by in excess of 60 points at halftime, 13 goals to 3. So that's when the game's at its hottest. Steve-O, you love your cricket, you love your test match, your shield cricket. When do you want to make centuries? First innings, not the second innings. So what West Coast did in the second half was good. They avoided a blowout, but ultimately when the game was at its hottest, they weren't there to be seen. And unfortunately, that game was put to bed by quarter time, halftime.
What was the biggest positive you saw for the Eagles? I mean, it's a tough job. I look at the social media guy at the Eagles putting out tweets, desperately trying to find anything positive in games, but at least they found a couple.
Yeah, I think so. Look, young Willem Dersma was good. Harley Reid, I thought, was okay. Now, do you want Harley Reid handballing as much as he did last Sunday or kicking? You probably want him collecting the footy, breaking the lines and kicking 50, 55 metres so he becomes that 70-metre player. But all in all, the return of Jake Waterman was good. We know that he's a high-class player. He's an All-Australian. Missed the back half of last year with injury. He kicked 3. Elliot Yeo made a successful return. Some of their kids were good. Josh Lindsay found a bit of the football. So all in all, there were some positive signs. And hopefully they can get better and they can build on that second half this week against the Kangaroos. They need to. But again, I think if you'd be brutally honest, You need to look at that first half and say that is entirely unacceptable.
What about Murdoch? They call him Rupert over there?
Yeah.
After my old boss at News Limited. I mean, he might be as rich as Rupert after that on the weekend.
Yeah, remiss of me not to mention Milan Murdoch. He was very good. He's only been on the list a couple of weeks, kicked a couple, found the football, got involved. He's always been a really industrious player here in the Waffle, so it's great to get an opportunity. And with that opportunity, he took it. So he'll play again this week, and he's going to play multiple games for the Eagles, which is exciting.
Has there been much talk about the Waffle this week? I mean, we've seen players like, I'll mention my Bulldogs, Selwood, out of the Waffle as well. It just underlines that some of these state league players can step straight in.
Absolutely it does. And you've seen it over there in the VFL. We've seen it in the Sandful. We see it in the Waffle. It's a very good competition, the Waffle. Is it as good as it was back in the day? Absolutely. It's not. We know that. Same with the VFL, same with the Sandful. But it can still produce some very good footballers, and Milan Murdoch's the latest example of that.
Is supply an issue, Diggers? I mean, to win games of footy, you've got to get it inside the 50. So that's going to be an issue this week, of course, for the Eagles, even though they're playing North Melbourne, who, look, on paper you'd think would be beatable, but North were pretty impressive. So they're going to have to get it inside 50.
They are. They only had 39 entries last week and they kicked their 10 goals. So it's been an issue, not just under Andrew McQualter, at the back end of Adam Simpson's tenure as well, Steve. It was a concern. How many entries, how many opportunities, how many looks are they giving their forwards? And it was perhaps papered over a little bit with the efficiency in front of goal of Josh Kennedy and also Jake Waterman. But they need to find a way, and it's at the source, isn't it? They need to find a way midfield to win enough football. And that's what they've been able to try to do. You know, that they've recruited Finn McRae. They went and got Schalberg. They went and got Robertson. Starcevic will run through there. They're trying their best to bolster their midfield so they can give their forwards an opportunity to kick a winning score.
But they're up against Cherry on the weekend. He's a Goliath. I love him. I think he's certainly North's best player. So they're going to have to do something in the middle.
Yeah, they are. Look, he monstered Matt Flynn last year, and in that game down at Bunbury, he had 22 touches, nearly 40 hit-outs. I think he had 10 or 11 clearances. He was a beast on that occasion. We know that he's a Sid Barker medalist, Tristan Cherry. And to be fair, Jared Witts had his way last week, didn't he, against Flynn? So they've got some concerns there, West Coast. And if Cherry is able to be that imposing, dominating figure, not just in the air, but at ground level, and supply those midfielders at his feet, you'd think that North's midfield machine, off what we saw against Port Adelaide on Sunday, they might overwhelm West Coast.
Well, this is one as a West Coast supporter. You'd look at it at the start of the year and pencil it in. Maybe you can go to the footy with a little bit of confidence that you can win the game. Do you think they can get it done, Diggers?
I'd like to say yes, if I'm, to put my WA hat on. I'm a North Melbourne supporter, that but I would think of what we've seen, North have enough depth and they look to be pretty healthy, North. So, does Wardlaw come in? Does Spargo come in? But that midfield looked quite electric last week, to be fair. Dylan Stevens was good defensively. They're sound with Luke Parker behind the ball. I would think that North at this stage of their rebuild compared to where West Coast are, North have been in a rebuild for seemingly an eternity, but I think their rebuild's a little bit more advanced than West Coast. And playing in WA is not a fear for North. They've actually got a good record here. So I suspect that North can go 2-0, believe it or not. I can't believe I'm saying it.
Yeah, have you got something for us for TABtouch just to fill the pockets up? Of course, gamble responsibly.
Yes, absolutely with TABtouch. $4.90 is on offer for both Jake Waterman and Nick Larkey to kick 3+ goals. Now, Nick Larkey kicked 4 last week in his first game as skipper of the Kangaroos, and Jake Waterman kicked 3 goals, 3 against Gold Coast. So we're looking at, again, another beautiful day here on Sunday. So conditions should suit forwards. The ball movement's nice and slick at the moment. So $4.90 for both Nick Larkey and Jake Waterman to kick 3+ goals.
I like it, Diggers, and I love your work. Another great show, of course, on behalf of TABtouch, The Outer Wing, a blockbuster 3rd episode where real punters play here. I'm Mark Stevens, he's Digby Beacham. We'll see you next week.
You win some, you lose more. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.